Hello, this is Kristen Fouts, Director of Education and Chapter Development for Zeta Beta Tau Fraternity. I wanted to film this video for you today as an introduction to the 2025 Standards of Excellence program. As many of you know, the previous, or the 2024 program underwent a pretty significant revision with the help of a fantastic working group comprised of some ZBT alumni and undergrads, in an effort to streamline the program, to cut out some unnecessary or excess elements which have made it hard for chapters to achieve accreditation in previous years. So what I am going to do today is walk you through the new packet, highlight some of those core changes, hopefully be able to answer some of the questions that you might have as we walk through this. But of course, as always, feel free to reach out via email or phone if you have questions about any of the new packet. So before we dive into the packet itself, I just want to kind of clarify the timeline for participating in Standards of Excellence. As in the past, the timeline to do activities related to the program, so to do the events, the programs, the various operational elements related to SOE that we will cover today, that is January 1st through December 31st. So your chapter can already be doing the things that are related to this current 2025 SOE cycle. The timeline to submit evidence of having done those things is roughly now, or when the new submission platform in MyZBT rolls out, which should be soon. So roughly March through the end of January 2026, so January 31st, 2026. So the timelines are just offset a bit. Again, the doing timeline is a calendar year. The submitting timeline is roughly March through the end of January of the next year. The timelines are offset to allow chapters to do their officer transitions, but also to allow some time for staff to be able to review submissions and to prepare the new process. So again, be doing the things related to these Standards of Excellence elements until the end of the calendar year, so December 31st, and then be submitting the content, the evidence, the pictures, etc., related to your having done those things before the end of January 2026. So I will walk through the packet, which you can see here on the screen. So the first page, what we really wanted to highlight is we wanted to define accreditation, because SOE has always been an accreditation program, but staff, we believe, a lot of chapters might not understand what accreditation means or have a misperception about what it means. So wanted to just kind of clear that up as much as possible right off the bat. So Standards of Excellence is an accreditation program. It is a mandatory process that the ZBT Supreme Council reviews and approves each year, and it helps evaluate chapters to determine if they meet certain organizational standards. Again, Standards of Excellence is conducted and earned annually. So accreditation at a deeper level is a stamp of approval, for lack of a better phrase. So it is a review and, again, an affirmation that your chapter is doing the right things, that it is doing what the fraternity expects of undergraduate chapters at a baseline level, at least. It shows current brothers, it shows your families, and it shows alumni, it shows staff, of course. Most importantly, it shows potential brothers and their families that your chapter performs and executes a comprehensive member development experience. And again, that you are meeting and exceeding the standards that the fraternity has set forth for undergraduate chapters. You can use this information, toot your own horn through recruitment, through philanthropy, through your campus accreditation program. It's a great opportunity to promote the holistic wellness of your chapter. So whether that's in the programming that you do, the finances that you maintain, the service and the philanthropy that you do within your community, the way you recruit brothers, the way you build them up and motivate them and retain them over time, turning young first-year brothers in some cases into very successful senior brothers who are ready to graduate and do great things in the world. So again, accreditation is required by the Supreme Council. Not every chapter has participated in the past, but we are certainly hoping to change that with this new program. Chapters that are not accredited for 3 years in a row have to provide a show cause presentation to the council in order for the chapter to maintain its charter. We will be enforcing this policy moving forward. It has not been enforced consistently in recent years, and we accept that, but we will be enforcing this in the coming years. So how is SOE different this year? So if you recall, again, in previous years, Standards of Excellence program was sort of one large body of elements or criteria related to chapter operations. There were 75 plus pieces of information or different sort of components that the chapter needed to check off in order to be accredited. The base level points, I believe, was 68 points. Certain elements in SOE had, 1 point or were worth 4 points or even up to 10 points. So there were different ways that chapters could earn the points, but across the board, if chapters were participating in SOE, their participation was kind of spotty. They weren't hitting on, again, what we really feel are the core things, the core expectations related to being a solid undergraduate chapter. So what we have done this year, one of the biggest changes is the structure of SOE has changed. So we have now broken up those SOE elements into one chunk, which we call foundational elements, which outline base level fraternity expectations in each of the 4 Credo tenet areas. Chapters can complete foundational elements and achieve accreditation, again, at the baseline expectation level for chapters. If your chapter is motivated by or is interested in being considered for awards at our international convention, you can then go above and beyond those foundational elements by completing excellence elements for extra points. So you'll see this reflected in a number of elements as we walk through the packet. They will be denoted by an asterisk next to the foundational element sort of reference number. And that will tell you that this foundational element has an excellence element related to it, meaning that there is an above and beyond level, or potentially even 2 or 3 levels above that baseline expectation. So chapters are always encouraged to submit evidence for campus accreditation programs as well as for SOE. Work smarter, not harder, double up that effort and share the same content, obviously as long as it meets the needs of both the campus and the fraternity. So if your campus requires you to host a certain program, submit that for our program as well. Or submit that for SOE as well, because again, there is most likely an overlap, especially if it's a risk management program, if it's a leadership development program, a professional development program, etc. So if you ever have questions about what should be submitted, or can you double up, can you submit the same, pictures, the same attendance list? Usually the answer is yes, but absolutely always feel free to reach out to me with questions. As in the previous cycle, the 2024 cycle, all evidence related to SOE submissions has to be uploaded or submitted through MyZBT. There is no other mechanism, there is no other process by which evidence can be submitted or will be reviewed in the 2025 cycle. So in 2025 and potentially beyond, accreditation has its perks. So to try to motivate chapters to participate in SOE to achieve accreditation, obviously we have streamlined the program. We have cut probably 15 or 20 elements from those foundational elements to, again, try to make it a little bit easier for chapters to achieve those accreditation points. We also recognize that not every chapter is motivated by international awards, and that's fine. But we do want to make sure that chapters are motivated to seek accreditation, to seek that rubber stamp, that gold seal of approval on their chapter operations to, again, reaffirm that you are on the right path, that you're doing good things. So some chapters are motivated by physical or financial incentives, and so we have built those into the program this year. So a few of the various incentives or perks that your chapter can earn by being accredited. You can have travel to one of our headquarters hosted events covered by the fraternity. As you know, right now, chapters are expected to budget for travel for their president to attend President's Leadership Academy, to attend regional officer institutes, and other programs that headquarters might sponsor. In this case, if your chapter wanted to request that stipend to have a participant covered for any of our programs, we would cover that travel. Your chapter can also host one of our headquarters sponsored workshops for no charge. Typically, if a chapter requested a workshop that was not one of our grant funded workshops, the chapter would be responsible for the facilitator or the staff member travel, meals, lodging, etc., related to the visit. So that workshop could potentially be done for free. You could also earn credit up to $500 towards supplies or swag for either recruitment or philanthropic purposes, including t-shirts, tents, etc., or for social events. So let's say you wanted to get some new lights, or you wanted to get some new t-shirts, or something to identify your sober monitors. Again, you can earn up to $500 credit towards those supplies. You can also earn up to $250 in credit toward food or supplies related to any program associated with the Journey, our Brotherhood Development Program. So let's say, again, you wanted to bring in some food for your Brotherhood orientation or your Brotherhood retreat. We can cover up to $250 of that food or supplies. Now, on the other hand, these are incentives. These are the carrots, so to speak. There also need to be some consequences for chapters that don't achieve accreditation. As I mentioned, chapters that fail to achieve accreditation for 3 years need to provide that show cause presentation to the Supreme Council. In addition, there can be a 5% insurance surcharge. So that would be a 5% fee added on to your the insurance that you pay for your brothers through the International Fraternity. There will also be a plan that will be created between the executive board and staff to achieve accreditation for the next year. So what are some steps that the e-board, either current or future, need to do in order to achieve accreditation? So those are some of the things that your chapter can expect if you don't participate or if you don't achieve accreditation. All right, let's move on to the good stuff. So first we are going to review the foundational elements. Again, foundational elements are those that are core to the active chapter experience. Chapters that are then seeking recognition for performance beyond these baseline expectations can also complete excellence elements. The excellence elements are not required. The foundational elements are required, and that, again, is where you will achieve accreditation, just simply by completing those elements. As I mentioned, you can see that those items that are marked with an asterisk in the points possible column have an excellence element related to it. So again, you will see that as we walk through. Chapters that achieve 1, 2, or 3-star accreditation levels through the excellence elements are then eligible for awards at convention. Points earned through the excellence elements do not add on to foundational elements toward accreditation. So let's say your chapter only achieves 40 foundational elements, but you get 15 excellence elements. The combination of those two does not add up to you being accredited. You have to be accredited through the foundational elements first. All right, here are the levels of accreditation. So the minimum points threshold to be accredited at any level, meaning starting with accredited with watch, is 48 points. Okay, so that is the minimum points threshold that your chapter needs to meet in order to be accredited. Obviously not accredited at 47 or fewer points. So let's walk through some of these elements, not all of them, because you can read, and again, they should be relatively easy to understand. I will say, in large part, much of the language of the existing elements that we retained did not change. If anything, they should be more clear than they were, especially on what evidence might need to be submitted. So again, there have been a few changes, but nothing too significant. So again, intellectual awareness is all about academic performance. It's about the educational programming that your chapter provides through the Journey. It is through your events that your chapter participates in on campus, again, for educational leadership development purposes. So you can see here intellectual awareness marked with the designation F, meaning foundational, IA standing for intellectual awareness, and then a point, numerical order for what point it is or what element it is. Points possible, obviously, just signifies how many points are possible for that particular element. I want to draw your attention to this here. So foundational element 7 in intellectual awareness relates to your chapter hosting at least one campus-based event or program that is open to the campus community and/or that at least 50% of the chapter attend. So again, your campus fraternity sorority life office hosts, a leadership development workshop open to the fraternity sorority community. If your chapter, if 50% of your brothers attend that program, you can get that point. Or if your chapter hosts an event or an activity that is open to other chapters on your campus or other student organizations on your campus, that is what we consider a campus-based event. So the asterisk, and we'll see when we get to the excellence elements later, simply gives you extra points for extra events. So this refers to 1 here. If you do 2 or 3, for example, that's where you can get the extra points. That's what the asterisk refers to. Okay. Social responsibility, again, just as in the past, relates to how you are educating brothers on healthy lifestyle practices, hazing prevention, sexual misconduct prevention, alcohol and other drug use, etc. Also refers to standards board processes, involvement in campus organizations, and your governing council, etc. So again, you can see an asterisk here. This one in particular suggests that the foundational element, your chapter needs to have at least 60% of brothers involved in a registered student organization outside of ZBT. The asterisk here, the excellence element, is that you have a brother holding a leadership position in one of those other student organizations. So that is the above and beyond related to this foundational element where you can earn an extra point. Okay. In the past, that leadership position was a regular SOE element, which again, some chapters were able to achieve or not. Now that is an above and beyond practice that is not required, but obviously strongly encouraged for accreditation. So again, you can see a couple other asterisk points here under social responsibility. Again, the core concepts related to each of the tenet areas has largely been retained from 2024 to 2025. Integrity is all about your, this is truly core chapter operations. These are things that your chapter really absolutely must be doing year to year. You need to be updating your risk reduction protocol, using the fraternities template ideally, and I will link that in this process or in the MyZBT the system that you upload your SOE evidence, the platform, excuse me. You also need to be submitting or getting approved for tax exempt status. You need to have prepared an annual budget and review it with your brothers. And we need you to be utilizing Greekbill or a similar service provided by your institution. Those are the 4 core elements related to integrity. Again, you can see here an asterisk element, which connects to an excellence element in that category. Moving on to brotherly love, this has been and is still the longest section or the longest category in SOE because it relates to the things that we do as a brotherhood. It relates to the programming related to the journey. It relates to the ritual activities. It relates to various ceremonies that you do related to the ritual. It also relates to engagement and outreach with alumni, also with parents or families of current brothers. So there is a lot of content in brotherly love. Again, should all be things that your chapter normally does through the course of its day-to-day operations, and that's why they are all marked as foundational elements. Again, you can see some different opportunities here with asterisks that connect to excellence elements. But overall, there are 34 plus points available just in the brotherly love section. You can see here we still offer lots of points related to brotherhood bonding activities, which is a great and fairly easy way for lots of chapters to earn some quick points there. As always, again, there are also some elements that headquarters tracks. Again, a lot of these have asterisks, which again connect with an excellence element. Again, these are very similar to what they were in 2024. It is completing the tightrope program. It is having officers complete the Highwire program. It is attending our headquarters sponsored programs like VOI, like the Regional Officer Institute and International Convention. It is reporting your new initiates, etc. The only element in here that your chapter actually has to submit content through the platform is this piece right here, chapter reporting recruitment dates. Everything else in the headquarters tract section, the staff pull through our database. So we already track your attendance, if you submit if you upload your new initiates on time, we already track that. This HQ4 is the only element in this whole section that you actually have to submit anything. And that's just dates. So your, spring recruitment dates, your fall recruitment dates, etc. Okay. So now let's move on to the excellence elements. So again, as I've mentioned, the excellence elements represent above and beyond efforts that your chapters can achieve for additional points. In some cases, a corresponding foundational element has to be fully awarded before the excellence points can be given, meaning when in those earlier sections where we saw maybe 2 points were available through the foundational element, you have to, and there was an asterisk, you have to meet those 2 points before you can achieve the above and beyond. Okay, should not be difficult, especially for chapters that that often do much more than is required through the sort of day-to-day chapter operations. But again, those foundational elements have to be met before any credit in the excellence category can be awarded. Again, points earned through the excellence category do not add onto your foundational points toward accreditation. So you have to achieve accreditation through the foundational elements alone. Okay. Again, you can see here 1, 2, 3 star about how many points it takes to achieve either of those above and beyond the accreditation level. So again, 23 extra points required for 1 star and on up. So let's dive into these excellence elements. Again, there are not many, but there are plenty that your chapter can do to earn that extra credit towards recognition at 1, 2, or 3 star, and also recognition through our international awards. So again, I'll just walk through these briefly. There is one eligible or available in intellectual awareness. Again, I mentioned this as we went through the foundational element. So the foundational element is the expectation that your chapter hosts one of those, or that your brothers attend, or 50% of your brothers attend one campus-based event. You can receive up to 2 additional points if you do up to 2 additional programs. So 1 point per additional program. Likewise, in social responsibility, again, you can see here is that element that I referred to earlier. The foundational element is that you have brothers having membership in other student organizations. The extra or the excellence element here is up to 2 points if you have a brother holding a leadership role in another student organization. Your one element is related to fundraising. So the foundational element is that your chapter demonstrates a commitment to fundraising of an average of $18 per brother. The excellence element is 2 additional points if you go, again, 2 levels above that. So if you go to an average of $36 per brother, that's an extra point. Up to $54 per brother, that's an extra point. Same with community service. So if you have 30 to 39 hours per brother, I think the foundational element is 20 something. So again, if you go 30 to 39, you get another point. If you go 40 or plus, 40 or more, you get an extra point. So again, that's the purpose of the excellence elements, is to recognize and give credit for those above and beyond efforts above the foundational elements. The integrity point, again, there's only one. The foundational element, I believe, was related to submitting your tax-exempt status. The excellence element doesn't directly tie, but it is an operation or a function that some chapters do, some chapters don't. And so even though we find it very valuable, submitting tax-exempt status is a baseline expectation for chapters. Having an annual budget is a baseline expectation for chapters. Contributing 3% of your annual budget to savings is an above and beyond effort. Some chapters are able to contribute more, some are able to contribute less. We want you to strive for 3%. So if you can show us that you contribute 3%, you'll get that additional point. Again, brotherly love. Most of this is, just doing extra in each of the foundational elements. So extra programming, extra work in MyZBT, completing some digital courses. This is where intramurals come in. So if your chapter participates in intramurals, and then extra points if you place in your top 3, etc. So again, above and beyond efforts. Same here in the headquarters area. So we have all new brothers are already expected to complete tightrope, but here in the excellence category, we actually are giving points for the percent of completion. So if if only 50% of your new brothers complete it, that might be the foundational element. But if you really do your due diligence to make sure that your new brothers are completing it, you can get extra points for the percentage of completion. Again, you can get extra points for the percentage of completion of your new executive board officers completing Highwire. You can get extra points for participating in our non-required headquarters programming. For instance, having an applicant for the Emerging Leaders Institute, participating in Israel Now or the Summit Against Hate, or any of our grant-funded educational programs, and then really additional points that headquarters staff might identify. So there are certain opportunities throughout the year where we'll say, you know, if you have a brother serve on this fraternity committee, we'll give you an extra point or an extra 5 points or whatever the case might be. So that is the full packet minus this list here on the back page of the chapter awards. Again, these are the awards that we give out at convention each year. But that is a quick rundown of the 2025 Standards of Excellence program. Again, the key changes are adding some more value, some more physical and financial incentives for accreditation, as well as some consequences for not being accredited. Also, the structure of the program, foundational elements that are required to achieve accreditation, and then those excellence elements that help chapters get that above and beyond recognition and eligibility for international awards. And again, the process to submit the content is the same through MyZBT, and the timelines are also the same. If you or your chapter have any questions now or throughout the entire process of the 2025 cycle, please reach out. My email address is kfouts@zbtnational.org, and you can always call as well, 317-650-7743. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing your submissions. Thanks. Bye.